Hello, my friends. Well, I can't wait for you to listen to this next episode and get to know my guest, Sheetal Story. She is a dear friend. We have been soul sisters since 2017 and feel like we both have known each other for years, or if not lifetimes. In this episode, we dive into what it means to be intuitive, how she knew that she was a psychic medium from a very young age. We also talk about rebirth and how the things that we desire require death, actually. They require us to let what is no longer working fall away. We talk about true aligned friendships and opportunities and how these things, again, require us to let go of what is no longer working and how we have both had this experience in our friendships and with others in our lives. So we dive in really deep right off the hop, which is not shocking with Sheetal and I. We also talk about the process of discomfort and how often the things that, feel grungy and gross as we're going through them actually lead us to deeper level purpose. And Sheetal also talks about how all of us are actually intuitive and how the feelings are actually the key to that, which from the joy perspective aligns so fully. So this is such a fun episode. It is from my heart to yours. Grab your favorite coffee, tea, hang on to your socks, and enjoy. Hey there, it's Jillian, your guide to all things joy, and this is the Joy Journey Podcast. Oh my God. Hello. I have such immense joy giggles already introducing my soul sister, Sheetal Story. Welcome to the Joy Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Jillian Shecker, and I'm so thrilled to have Sheetal with us today. As I said, she's a soul sister. I've known her since 2017, though my soul has known her forever. In fact, when we first met, I was like, I know you. We know each other. And she was like, no, I don't actually know you. We'll talk about that a little later. But for now, I just really want to take a moment to introduce Sheetal to you. If you don't know her, you need to. Everyone needs to know this glorious, beautiful woman. Sheetal Story is a psychic medium. She is a spiritual grief support counselor. She's a professional astrologer. She's also got a master's in coaching and a business degree from the U of A. She's got every certificate you could ever need or want or desire. Sheetal empowers everyone around her. She empowers women, from entrepreneurs and professionals to stay-at-home moms, to break through their blocks, to trust their intuition and up level to the next stage of their lives. She's an absolute light. She specializes in navigating grief and life transitions, and she combines spiritual insight with grounded expertise to help her clients transform challenges into, I call them OFGs, opportunities for growth, alignment, and joy-filled success. Welcome, Sheetal.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited too. Before we dive in, I just want to share, Sheetal, again, is a soul sister. We met in Manny Trapp's meditation training in 2017.
The 25-hour, 3-day weekend.
Yeah, it was a weekend. And I literally just, it was her eyes. I was like, we know, we're friends. Like, I know you. And she's like, no, you don't. And I don't know you either. But we became fast friends. And soon after that, we worked together. I did branding design for Sheetal. And at that time, she was still you'll share your journey with us, but she was still working her day job. Yeah, it's just been such an amazing journey to witness you align more fully with your joy and with what truly lights you up. And so I'd love for you to kind of share a bit more about that journey with us today.
I love it. And fun fact, if you go to my website, the picture on the main page is the one that Jillian took from our branding session. Remember that full day of pictures all over the place. It was so wonderful. And yeah, our souls recognized each other. It's wild. We're like, we know each other, but we don't. So yeah, we became fast friends, and look at that. We took our certifications together as well.
We did.
It's wild. And actually, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be a coach, because at the time you were doing my website, and I still remember that this is like, you need a soul sister to call you on your shit, if you might have a clean rating. So I'm going to.
Sheetal, it is me.
Okay,
it's
yeah, explicit. I thought so, yeah.
Letter E.
Oh, I thought so. And yeah, it was funny because you were like, what do you call yourself? I'm like, like, I'm technically a psychic medium, but I'm not really sure. I didn't like that term because, Miss Cleo's 1-800 number screaming in the back of my head. And you're like, well, if I was to Google what you do, what would I Google? And I was like, psychic medium. And you're like, maybe it's about claiming what you are and rebranding, the ickies out of it versus trying to fit into a box that you don't belong in. And I remember that still sat with me. And then I said, I think I'm a coach. And you said, no, you're not. And I said, well, my coach says I'm a coach. And you're like, you don't have the certifications. You can't call yourself that. I love the Cancerian in you, the policeman of the world, keeping everybody safe, So yeah, I was like, okay, I'm not a coach. I am a psychic. I'm not a coach. And how do I become a coach? And you're like, well, I'm looking for a coaching certification too. And I said, well, what kind of, I was looking at Erickson down in Calgary. And you're like, well, I'd really like a law of attraction coaching certification. I said, well, actually, one of my friends is a certified coach for it, and one of the only ones in North America. And you're like, shut the front door. What? And I was like, yeah, I didn't even realize how unique it was, or that she was really special in any way. Love her so much. And so we looked into it, and you're like, yes, it's an investment, but Sheetal, like, this is going to be amazing. We got to do this together. And I was like,
we're doing it together.
Okay. It was the biggest investment I had made, other than my degree.
Yeah.
Close to the degree in terms of pricing. Yeah. And we did it together. And, it took us 9 months because we
twice.
Twice. And then we did our master's in coaching together. And it was amazing experience. And I think it was amazing only because you were in it. And of course, the teacher was amazing as well. But
Tanya, cheers to Tanya. We love you.
Love Tanya. But because we were going through it together. And at that time, we were also building our businesses together and being out in the world, and I think one thing I really love about you is we don't wait for permission to grow. We're just going to do it and do it out into the world. And I'm exactly that way too. And so we were just growing our businesses at the same time. And a lot of your profound insights, I'm in awe, as we learn more about your design and how you work, the manifestor in you, I'm just like, wow, you can just think things up, and just make them happen. And you create this joy empire that I can see taking over the world. And we need it now so much. Like, I just love that I get to be in the front row of that, and in your pocket as well, kind of going, okay, what about that? And then I got you. And if something's coming up, then I can also support you because I just love you so much. Yeah. And in turn, I think you also are always there for me as well. I recently went through a major health scare for someone really close to me in my life, and you're just like, hey, just checking in, and like, I'm in the hospital. And so having psychic friends really pays off. You don't need a telephone. You're just like, I just got the nudge to check in with you this morning, and it led to the podcast today. So it's wild. It's been a wild ride. And for everyone listening, like, really get yourself a soul sister group that is so amazing. The guys, your soul group of people that just can be in your field and support you no matter what. And as you're up leveling everybody together. Like, there's no competition. There's only community. Like, I send people to you. I've sent many clients to you that needed branding and coaching support. And you sent people to me that needed support. So there's no competition. And I love our community so much for that. And in doing that, I think we face problems together. And it's one of the joys in our group and with our friendship too, that I just so love. And it only came about, actually, it started from our meeting, because when I started to take all these personal development courses and really lean into my gifts, I started to meet all these amazing people that were on our path, the same path of development, not necessarily psychic mediums per se, but on the development path. And I started to meet people that were just so close. And then you just know resonance. Like, you meet somebody and just know that they're your soul friend, right? And you just want to spend more time with them. And slowly but surely, and we were on the same path, our old friends started to not fit the same anymore. And I think as women, as we're getting older, our female friendships really shift. And I hear that a lot from people. How do you meet your friends? Where do you meet new people? I'm like, go do development, and like, take a workshop, come out to one of our courses. Like, you're going to meet people that are on the same path as you, and you're going to meet resonant souls that you're just like, where have you been my whole life? Yeah. And that's how we met.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's so important for us to share that as you start to light it up and live in your soul purpose more fully, it isn't always comfortable. It does require the courage to explore what's no longer fitting. And sometimes those are friendships that were lifelong. And it's sad and it's like a grief walk, releasing those things that no longer fit. But I'm hearing loud and clear, especially recently, that we really need to make room for the new that's coming in. And there could be that in between of where you're called to trust that what no longer fits, you're able to let those things go to make room for what does. And I think Sheetal and I in our community are here to show a new way of sisterhood that is like absolutely celebrating each other. And like we're all in friggin' Edmonton and like there's more than enough to go around. And also just knowing that all of us are doing things in such a unique way. Like, and some of us have people in our communities that we're all in each other's community. Like it gets to look different, and there is more than enough for us all. And I think I just love how you highlighted that, because it is so true. We always send each other, I always need colleagues. And I think that's the other thing in soulpreneurship is, and leadership can feel lonely until you call in the support and you allow and you open your heart and trust that those who you are allowing in will come in and be there for you 100%. So thank you for being
100%.
that for me too.
No, I love that. And I think you highlighted something that was really important there too. I wanted to highlight as well is that this is a year of change, especially
Mm.
2025 and 2026 as well. Big years of change for the collective and the evolution of this planet.
Mm.
And in the astrology, we're in for a big shift this year, and shifts require release. That's a lovely term in spirituality. We like to just release what no longer
You're
serves.
like, don't forget the snot bubbles
Yeah.
and the
And
kicking
what
and
about the
screaming.
crying? And what about the
It's not
place
always
that it
pretty.
lives in my heart? Like, it's hard, like releasing those friendships as we were growing. I mean, we walk through it together as friendships were moving away. And I like to think of it as like, as you are you're changing your vibration. So not better or worse than anyone. We're not trying to make ourselves better than anyone, but we're just changing our vibration. We're inviting people to come on the journey with us, and bless our husbands, right? Bless our husbands,
our kings.
because they did not marry these wizardy women. They married these women
Wizards
that
and
they thought
witches.
were, yeah. Bless our husbands, because we invited them to come on the journey, and slowly but surely they started to open, started to be curious. And even to this day, my husband's like, I don't really know what she does, but I know you need her. Like, go call her. Like, here's her email. Get in her inbox. So it's that willingness, I think, for people to move with you through those changes. But then there's going to be others that are just absolutely not ready for that, or that's not their path, and they will choose something else. And when we're not fully healed or not in our true essence, we will think that means something about us. And it really means nothing about us. It just means that they're on a different journey. Yeah. We were together for these chapters of our lives, and thank you so much. Bless, I love you, and I wish you well on your path. And then it opens up space for new things to come in. Yeah. So if we can think about transitions and moving through loss that way, different when the loss is transitioned to spirit, but it's when friendships and relationships are ending, there's that opening for something more to come in, because something had to leave for you to come into my life and like bless that thing that left, because what came in is so much better. It just, like I can't even imagine. Yeah, I'm so thankful for the way things worked out and everything that's worked out for both of us and everyone in our community. It's such a beautiful thing to witness, and also hard to move through in those moments, because you feel like it is death. In essence,
it is a death.
It is a death, for sure.
Like it is that loss, but new birth requires death. And
Correct.
So we're both here saying literally like we lost some aspects of friends or friendships, but also gained so much more as well through the process. Yeah. Okay, sheesh. Oops. There goes a nickname
so
number
the
one.
note to everyone, only Jillian can call me that. So
I have 7,000 nicknames for her, and I'm the only one who can call her this. That's
we got a funny story to this, because there was somebody that you had interviewed with, and then I got to meet him, and he called me Sheesh, and I'm like, no, my name is Sheetal. It's not my name.
Oh my gosh!
So just for everyone listening, and if you see me and you call me Sheesh, I'm not.
I'll punch you in the face.
you in the face. I will not
She's 11 meter,
respond.
but she might punch you in the face.
I'm a Scorpio rising. You don't want a Scorpio in the streets, Virgo in the sheets. I don't know. Is that right? No, I don't think so.
Who's the
Okay.
freaky one in the sheets? Who's
Yeah.
the freakiest?
Virgo
Scorpio.
Yeah. Well,
Really? Really? Oh, now we know. We need like a sex talk astrology session. Oh, that'd be fun. Okay. Like, so full disclosure, I messaged Sheetal like in the car this morning and was like, you need to come on my podcast now because I was like, I need to introduce my soul sisters at the beginning so that I can have you come on and just do like coffee talks, like just random talks about like the astrology of the now or like whatever it will be when that happens. But I was like, but I need you to get on now and like we need to introduce you. So I'm so glad she said, yeah. Funnily enough, someone canceled today. She never has, well, she's working on space in her calendar, which we'll talk about when it comes to the challenges that might be occurring.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I never have just free hours in my calendar. And so that you messaged and this all worked out. This is divine timing, in essence, in your life. And you'll notice it, as the listener on this podcast, when things just align perfectly and you don't have to worry about how it's going to fit and do I have the money and all of that stuff doesn't matter. If it's aligned for you, if it's destined for you, it'll fit into your life so easily. And I've really been sitting with that. So I went through massive burnout in October, November. I lost my voice for 12 days, y'all. It was a lot. I got sick 6 weeks prior and I was like, no, I'm going to tough it out. I'm still going to record. I'm still going to be online. And then the universe said, fine, you're not listening, you stubborn little. I'm going to take this voice of yours away. And I have vowed since then that I will not go back to that. So I've been really opening up space and just sitting in awareness of what is coming in. And as I get the nudge to launch something or put it out to my community, it then like goes like crazy. It's wild. And even recently, I was like, all right, universe, you want me to be an entrepreneur, better show me the money. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, this random e-transfer. And I was like, oh, well, registration for a course that's upcoming. Oh, someone just signed up on my website. So it's wild how what's meant for you will always find you and you don't have to try so hard. Yeah. And I think I knew that from the beginning. I knew it in relationships for sure. It's how I met my husband. I wasn't trying. I knew the right person was going to find their way to me. And I just had to be ready to receive it. And I feel like now I'm learning that to do with money and I'm learning to do that in business as well, because I'm an achiever, right? And I know you are too, Jillian, and I know you attract them into your world too. I do too. And we are triers, we're doers, we're, always out there making stuff happen. And that's a surefire way to burnout, right? And the best way is to listen to your intuition and sort of I've been sitting in the observation. This is my year of no, of saying no to all the things and really allowing what really is a loud yes to step forward. Last year.
Okay, I need to say how excited this makes me feel for you. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Because last year was my year of yes. And you watched me walk through that. I went on 6 flights, 4 of them international. I was in 3 masterminds. I was at every event. I was speaking everywhere. I said yes to everything. Yeah. And it was so much fun. Yes. And this year, I know in the astrology, I'm going into a 12th house year, meaning it's a quieter year. It's a time for transcendence, healing, releasing, a lot of behind the scenes kind of things that I don't really want to share with the world. And I knew that going into the year. So I purposely made it my year of no. And thank God I did, because there's been so many things that have required me to be home, to be with my family, and also to just save that money for something that was more so needed. So,
okay, question. Great. Did you need the 12 days of no voice to really get that lesson so that you could make space for this year?
Yes. Yes, because you know how stubborn I am. I'm like, no, I'm going to push through, right? It's part of my, I'm a pusher. Yeah. I can get things done. I don't have a problem with commitment. You want me to commit to a podcast? I'll commit to a podcast. I'll do one every week. That's not a problem for me. Yeah. The problem for me is releasing from commitments and also stepping back and just allowing the flow, which is so interesting.
Yeah. And if I may, because I see you do this, but I also this is the truth, y'all. We're reflections of each other. So I can sit here and say, yeah, you went real hard last year. I'm like, you fucking did too, Shaki. motherfucker.
you
Like,
did.
don't act like I just sat around twiddling my toe thumbs, you know, like it was like, same
He does
girl.
have toe thumbs for real.
So I feel like I really get it. And I'm really excited for you. And I think I'm also really excited for me. I feel like the beginning of the year has been a lot, even though I decommitted from so much. Last weekend, I went on a spa vacation and I got from like a level 5, 6, 7 burnout to 0. Like honestly felt fully restored after 3 days at
So good.
Sparkling Hill, Serenity Room, 2 words. That's all I got to say. And I came back into my life and I was like, oh, holy shit. Like this does not work. Like actually it does not work. For me in the joy realm, the 2 things that are required for us to align with our natural state of joy are curiosity and compassion. And I feel like this is not a shit on ourselves experience. This is like how to really deeply see what's going on here. And while I think for sure there's some like masculine energy turned up too loud, there's lots of like that doing energy that, you know, we're so like that's part of our maybe trauma response. Like who fucking knows? But also I feel like when I dug into it more from a spiritual component, was how big our mission is and like our soul purpose and being so aligned with your soul purpose and your soul mission that it propels you and it makes you want to do more than maybe our human skin cars are able to do. You know, that require like that work on a 24-hour clock and aren't limitless and like need to recharge, you know, like we're not spirits yet.
100%. We forget that, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
So,
Our vices are our gifts turned up too loud. Right. So when we think about that, our gifts are being of service, wanting to help people. And when you turn that up so loud, it goes into overwork. It's trying to help so many people. It's saying yes to all the projects because we do, I'm going to say we in this, we have a lot of gifts and we have a lot of things that we make better just by being around them. And so people like to be in our energy and that's a real gift. And when we turn that up too loud, it becomes we're in overdoing and over service and
depletion.
And then we're burnout.
And that's not service.
Right.
Service is not
Right.
sacrifice. And I know you know it. And I know I know it. And so then, and I'm hopeful that anyone listening, if you have this challenge, if you do experience burnout, you love what you do, like it really is, I would say part of our deepest practice is like how to do this from a place of overflow. This is why I make joy my priority, not just like the feeling good, but the actual feeling good. Like we need to bring our bodies on board for this experience and honor our nervous systems along the way and have so much space because Sheetal, you and I both know, like the things that want to be born require room. And where the fuck is the room? Like, where's the room? That's my question for you. Where's the room? Sheetal?
Right. It can't be birth if you're always busy doing all the things. And the universe can't speak to you if you're so busy in your mind, right? And not allowing those nudges and those brilliant moments to be shown to you. So yeah, I agree. I feel like that white space. And it's so interesting because I was having this conversation with my coach last year and I was like, yeah, I'm trying to create space in my calendar. And she's like, no, what about white space? And I was like, I don't even know what white space is. And she said, white space is a time in your calendar where you do nothing.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if I have space in my calendar, it tends to be filled because someone's like, oh, you want to go for coffee? I'm like, oh, yeah, I got space. I'll put that in there, right? You want to go for brunch? Oh, I love brunch. Yeah, I'll put it in there. So it's not like for me, and I think overworking, as you were talking, I heard Spirit say overworking can be different for so many people. Sometimes it's we need to make money. Sometimes it's we've learned how to do this from our families and to be hardworking people. Coming from immigrant parents myself, I learned how to work hard and create value for yourself wherever you're at. And I think for us, where it's moved to is about being of service and wanting to help as many people as possible. So as I pull back from that, I really had to be aware of like, is this okay? Am I now, as my pulling back, am I now doing a disservice to people around me? What I noticed is other people start to step into their gifts and start to step up and help support themselves or support other people. And it didn't have to be me.
Yes.
And I think that has been one of the biggest ahas of this year so far for me as well, is that I could step back. I don't have to be the one holding up the room. Other people can step up and hold that up too. And I love that so much. So in holding white space now, which is different than just space, it's space to do nothing, like just nothing. And it's interesting because even now I'm tested. The universe tests me. I had this, this afternoon is white space. And I was
shit.
like, oh, yeah.
And we're ending this call now.
It's so hard. It's so hard. How do you hold back? Like I
You're
just
like, no,
gotta
I'm
do.
sorry, I cannot come on your podcast. I'm busy doing nothing.
No, this is so much more fun than doing nothing. Like I went on a cruise with my family 2 years ago. Bless my parents took us on this cruise for a big kind of experience. And I remember messaging my coach. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I'm sitting there on the back of the boat watching the water 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like what else could I? Audiobook. I have an audiobook that I downloaded. I brought some work with me I could do. And she's like, do nothing, Sheetal. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. It was so hard because to train yourself, and I think I was just having this conversation this morning where your brain is so trained now with all these devices and dopamine hits and social
Busyness.
media. It's so busy. We process, I heard a stat, we process more in a day than someone in the 1600s had in a lifetime.
Yeah.
In a lifetime, because they didn't get, just mail. They didn't see
You're
anybody.
busy
They
with the
lived
plague.
rural. Right? And there was a plague. Yeah. You don't want to talk to anybody anyway. But we process so much in a day. And so your mind, especially I think as an entrepreneur or a high functioning, high powered woman, you are constantly above, staying ahead of the curve, thinking of what's the next thing to do. And so to just quiet your mind and to be present. And, when I was sitting in the hospital, last week with my loved one, and my brain, I had no capacity. Like I even was looking, going, is there any work I could do? Because I'm sitting here waiting. Like, could I do something? And I just found myself like, I don't want to do any of this. And I think that's one of the gifts of being an intuitive is I'm so tapped in now to my internal environment that if it's a no, it's a no. Like nothing good is going to come of it if I try to push on that. That pushing is what gets you into burnout. So I've been really listening to that inner nudge of like, no, this is not what I want to do today. No, I'm not doing any social media. No, I'm not reading this book that I brought with. No, I'm definitely not making my agenda for next week. So it was so interesting to just sit. And my husband's like, you look bored. And I'm like, I'm so not bored. Yeah. I'm thinking about how much I love you. I'm so grateful that I have this space. I'm like, there is no boredom here. Yeah, I'm being present. And it was funny because, the people around me like, you're just staring off into space. I'm like, actually, I'm thinking about what a beautiful day it is as I stare out the window and this and that. Like I never was bored at all. Like I don't think a Virgo can get bored. Like you just have so much on your to-do list.
Am I a Virgo? Just kidding. I know I'm not, but when you said that, I'm like, I feel similar.
You have Virgo in your chart that's pretty prominent, as I recall. So yeah, the doer.
Yeah. And I love it. And it feels to me just so it just feels so fun. I think also the plus side of being a doer is like that you really understand your role as a designer and deliberate designer and co-creator. So it's like, especially as a creative entrepreneur, it's like, what do we want to make next? Like, but as a manifester, so like I get all the ideas, but I need to be careful because I don't always have the energy to fulfill the ideas. And I've been really steeping into that too, as well as just realizing like how important rest is for the creative cycle. And I think with all cycles, when we can see it in this way, is like there is the idea, there's the creation, there's the fulfillment of the creation, but then there's the completion, and that rest is part of a creative project. Like it needs to be built in for us to be giving from a place of abundance. Okay, Sheetal, I want to know, we want to know about intuition. Like, can you tell us a bit about, and also I do want to direct people to your podcast because I know you share more of your story on there, but can you share with us like when you knew that you were a psychic medium?
So I was born with this ability. And I think, every medium is born with the ability. So it's in your soul and it becomes latent at the time that it's ready to be developed. So as a child, I lived with this awareness. I knew that dead people are around, and I'm Hindu by religion. So I know reincarnation exists and spirits are around us and our loved ones are supporting us. So it wasn't scary or weird. I talked to my mom about things and she's like, oh yeah, just tell them if you don't want them around, just tell them to go away. So I had that ability, and I could control my gift in that it didn't bother me. But I noticed as a first generation Canadian, to immigrant parents, East Indian, so I'm very much a visible minority, that I just wanted so much to fit in as a kid. Mm. And, you see all the ideas of what's beautiful on TV and even all the boys who they like. And it wasn't never, anyone who looked like me. And so I really, really desperately wanted to fit in and minimize anything that made me different. And so when I discovered that not everyone had this ability, I turned it off. I just turned up. My mom said, you can just close the door on the top of your head and it'll go away and you can just be a kid. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I can do that. And I just did it. And so it went away. That was the age of 9. And then after I had my second child, so that was 15 years ago now, all of a sudden I started to see spirit again and know things about people that I could not possibly know. I remember watching a Long Island Medium television show, and I remember thinking that must be so cool to give closure and help people, in such a deep way with their grieving. And I remember turning off the TV and went to go pick up my aunt from the bus depot. And she lived in Texas, but she's East Indian. She's related to us through family. She used to live in Calgary, and her husband had died. So my uncle had died a few years before, and she moved down to Texas to be with her children. So she'd come up to visit my mom and my dad and then some of the other family. So she came up, we went to pick her up from the bus depot, and I brought her back to my house, and she was talking about looking something up on the iPad because she had a sore wrist, and this guy had given her Reiki on the bus, and she's like, I wonder what this Reiki is about. And I was like, oh, you can look it up on the iPad. You can find a Reiki practitioner in Texas in your area. And my mom's like, I don't know how to use this iPad. And I was like, okay, I gave it to my aunt. My aunt's like, I know how. So I was looking at my aunt. She was like, wow, she actually knows how to use technology. And my uncle appeared behind her. So I know he's fully dead. And he's appeared behind her and he said, isn't she smart? And I'm like, well, I know those are not my words because I was like, well, she can use an iPad. I don't know if he makes that smart, technologically savvy, maybe a little bit. And said, and she's beautiful. No, isn't she beautiful? And she's smart too. So in that kind of way. And I was like, wow, that's weird. Like, I definitely did not think that. My aunt is a beautiful woman, but not that I was like, wow, she's so beautiful. Like, weird in that moment. And then disappeared. And I remember my mouth was open, but everyone was looking at the iPad. So I was like, okay, that's probably a figment of my imagination, watching too much Long Island. And so went to my mom's house the next day for tea. And I had told my mom over text what had happened. She's like, you should tell Auntie. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to tell people about this. This is psychosis. And so we sat down at the table and my mom's like, tell Auntie what you know. Tell Auntie. I was like, oh gosh, in Indian culture, you can't hide anything. Like, they're just going to out you if you tell any secrets. So I was like, well, I saw Uncle appear behind you. And he said, isn't she beautiful? And she's smart too. And she started to have tears come down her face. And she said, he told me I was beautiful every day of my life, every day of our marriage. And I was like, wow, that's quite unique. I don't know any East Indian couples that do that. I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I said, what about the smart too? Like, what is that about? And my mom said, do you know what Auntie does before she came to Canada? And I was like, no, I've only ever known her as a daycare worker. She loved children. She's so wonderful with kids. So she went and got her early childhood diploma and became a worker at daycares. And I said, oh, I've only ever known her as a daycare worker. She's like, she's an astrophysicist in India. And I was like, wow. Worked on the space program in India and now, lives in Canada working with children. She had a chance at a second career and chose something that was really near and dear to her heart. I was like, I had no idea. And it was from that moment, then all of a sudden I started to see spirits of people. They started to give me messages. I really didn't have any clue on how to manage my gift. It was just things were coming in and I was going up to people, which is so wrong. You don't have permission. That's not how it works. You see on TV and that is not okay. You have to wait for permission and also kind of gauge the situation. Like, it's not okay to just offer readings to random people. I'm sure you can understand how violating that could be if someone came up to you and started reading you. So I had to learn that. So I started to find teachers, and it was wild how everything just progressed so easily. All the doors just started to open, and I wanted to get back into corporate. At that point, I had taken a sales and marketing job so I could work from home to look after my babies. And I thought, I wanted to retire VP of purchasing because I'm an achiever, And so every time I tried to get back into purchasing, I would get to the 4th or 5th interview, and then they would pick someone with lesser experience or lesser. And I was like, what is happening? And I remember my last, we're going with another candidate. And I remember standing outside crying, and I heard universe say, you're looking at the wrong door. You're looking at the wrong door. And so it was almost like wild as I heard it so loud in my ear. And it wasn't my voice either. Like, it felt like a man's voice. And that's what I stood up. I was standing outside a Jasper hotel because I was there for a food show with my job. And I remember like I took a deep breath, I stopped crying, and I'm like, what's the door that I'm missing? And it was almost like as if I was like looking in my mind, and the door that was open was all the psychic mediumship, the tarot, like all that stuff on the other side that I was not looking to at all to create a career around. I mean, that's weird. And it hit me. I've always felt in my life that I want to help people. And I've never really had a job. Like I tried to get in with volunteering or with charities, and it just never worked out. I always get into corporate situations and make someone a lot of money. And here then was the opportunity, and it's just all fit together. It's like, this is what I'm meant to do in my life. And the doors just started to align and open. And then COVID handed me the opportunity to step into this full time. And I've not looked back.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us about that day.
The day that I got fired.
Yeah.
Released with joy.
Freedom.
So I was in a job for 12 years, and it was a wonderful job. I loved it. It was like a family. I grew with them, even had my second baby with them. They were just wonderful. I was in sales and marketing in the food industry. And then all of a sudden, all of these red flags started to pop up. Like I got a new boss who was absolutely the worst boss I've ever had in my life. We had major blowouts, which is definitely not like me. All of my key people in the accounts that I held left. Like it was crazy, 100% turnover in all these different accounts that I had, all left. And the new people coming in did not want to see me. So I was like trying to create new relationships. And then I didn't get a week's of vacation that was promised to me because I didn't get it in writing, even though the person who promised it to me still worked at the company. And she said, you didn't get it in writing. So you don't get it. So I was like, that's it. That's the straw. Like I hate it when people don't come through on their promises. So I started looking for another job, and I happened to be at a show when someone said, hey, by the way, we're looking for somebody in your area with this expertise. And I was like, that could be me, and matched my salary. And I moved over to that job, and it started January 2020. And that was also in seniors healthcare, which was, as you know, decimated by COVID. So I started in that industry, went for training, and I was working with coaches during that time. I had paid off all my coaching programs that I was working with coaches on too. And I had a coach that was just like, what about this? And what about this? And I said, I can't. I'm going to be in Red Deer for training. No, I can't. I'll be in Toronto for training. No, I'm going to be at a food show. She's like, you just need space in your calendar. Oh, there's a theme. Hey,
Space.
You just need space in your calendar to make your business, like to launch your business off the ground. You've been nurturing your client, because I'd been seeing people on the side, evenings, weekends, and holidays for years, doing readings on the side and sharing about it on my social media and stuff too. So I already kind of had an audience ready to go. And then I started this new job, and I remember telling my mom, I'm like, I feel like this is a stepping stone job. And my mom's like, you're not going to be here long. My mom's a healer as well, intuitive as well. You're not going to be here long. I'm like, I feel like that too. I'll never leave like a salaried, benefited job, So yeah, COVID hits, and the seniors' homes were already in outbreak status in February. And we've had this conversation. COVID was already here long before it actually was here, officially. So they were already in outbreak status. So no one could go in and visit the homes because they're trying to protect like any germs leaving or coming into this facility. And of course, no one's available to take the job or phone because they're so busy trying to manage all the things. So I got let go March 2020. And so interesting, because I had just completed my grief counseling certification, and I had just completed a mentorship program with my mentor for mediumship as well. And then I got let go, and I got the email. The email, like, my husband had already been released from his job and was on the CERB, the government subsidy for people who were let go during COVID. So he was home full time. I was still working from home, and I got the email. It's my boss and his boss, and that's the only people on the meeting invite. And I was like, "Oh, it's coming! It's happening!" I knew it. Of course, being psychic. So I was on the call, and I'm like, "This is it!" Like in my mind, I'm like, "This is it. This is the launch off. Like it's happening." And I remember logging on to the call with this big smile, and there's my boss and his boss, two men, and they're very, Jerry, we're going to let you go. Your performance isn't up to date. We're just going to part ways, and that's that. And I said, this is great. He's like, we're also extending benefits for 6 months. And I think we're going to extend mental health benefits for a year. And I was like, I won't need it. Like, thank you. And they're like, are you okay? Like, yeah, I'm fantastic. This is the best thing ever. Right.
Yeah.
So I hung up the call with them. And my husband's like, did you just let go of your job? Like, we have no income. I'm like, we have income. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
And they gave me the severance package and everything that worked out. And the next day, I woke up, I called my coach right away, my mom, of course, and was like, you know what? I think everything's going to work out. I'm like, I feel like it too. And my coach is like, just sleep on it. It was a Thursday. She said, Monday morning, let's come together and form a plan. And Friday morning, I woke up with Discover Your Soul-Led Purpose downloaded into my brain. It was a 12-week program. I wrote the entire program in an hour. I put it out on social media, and I had 15 ladies in the next week step in, and I made 3 times my month's salary in 1 month.
Yes, you did.
So, and then my calendar filled for 3 months, and it's been full for 3 months since then, moving forward. So
More
it
like
was
3
wild.
years.
Yeah, 3 years.
But we'll get to that when we share your links.
Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you.
this.
Wild.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think so many of us feel like when shit hits the fan, it feels like it's the end of something, but it's this reminder. I think this is the theme of this session
It
is
is.
like, it's actually the beginning. Rebirth requires death first. And sometimes that death feels so uncomfortable, sad, awful, but then you're able to turn that pain into purpose.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, you're coming back. This is just this is like the flea on the gnat's ass of magic. This is like just the very beginning. I know you're going to come back so many times. Like, we have so much to explore and share together. But I think what I do want to share as we're kind of wrapping up is around this piece of intuition, because I know, like, since I've known you, that has been your natural gift and strength. And I know it's probably been the number one thing that you've had a little bit of resistance around. Like, what does it look like to share this and to guide it and to lead it and to teach it? And I've also seen you like step more and more fully into your purpose as a teacher, an educator of intuition. And I've taken Sheetal's stuff. Like, she is legit. I think the one thing that I love so much about you is like your Virgo nature, like very data driven and specific, which I think turned up too loud has made it really hard for you to like share in the free, like feminine and flowy way that you're here to share. But I've also now recently seen you kind of explore like, no, it gets like, I bring this to everything I'm doing. And so I know that Sheetal has lots of programs that allow you to tap into your intuition. The Sphere's screaming at me to share that in our first coaching program, a Law of Attraction coach training program, there was like 3 of us in this session, and everyone in the fucking course was psychic, and everyone's like, I'm a psychic medium and I'm a psychic medium. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, I was like, I don't know what I'm even doing here with all these psychic mediums. And I remember Sheetal just pissing her pants laughing. She laughed and laughed because she's like, you're psychic too. So she's also been there to like witness me kind of claim my role as a psychic. Like, it's not like I'm psychic, but to own my intuition, and has always just supported it so beautifully. And so I just want to say thank you for all that you do. And there's so much. You guys, literally, we could have an episode for each one of the things she offers in the world. But I would say like your psychic mediumship, your intuition, your MIA program. She's got Intuition 101 and 102. And there's like so much more magic I can feel coming around that. Her and I are going to be talking about this. But anything else that you want to share around that piece before we wrap up for today?
I just want to say to everyone who's listening is that you're born with intuition. Like, when you look at babies and you look at children, they're so intuitive. They can tell when you're sad. Animals are like this too. They gravitate to you when you're going through a hard time. And as someone, as you grow up, you can push that away because your feelings, your intuition comes through your emotions. So if you are not comfortable in your feelings, then you'll push that away. But the fact of the matter is, everyone is intuitive. And the more you flex it, the more you trust it, the more you come back to your natural self, the more that will grow, and you just will become so aware. So I was really lucky because I grew up in a family that was very spiritual and very intuitive. And I was always taught to come back into the way that I was feeling, but I'm a Virgo, so I'm very head driven, right? In terms of practical and analytical, and how do I make this like work? What are the strategies? I love strategies and frameworks, right? And it's all gonna come from my intuitive place. It's all gonna come from my soul. If that direction isn't there from my soul, then I'm following somebody else's agenda. And I think this is what we need now more in the world than ever, is people who are awakening to their soul's mission, listening listening to that inner compass and then creating a soul-led life from that place, right? That's really what manifestation is. It's just listening to those, guided nudges from within and then following the astrology or the energy of the world as you're picking up those breadcrumbs from the universe. So I was just going to say to everyone who's listening, like, you have intuition too. And the more you tap into it, the more you can strengthen it. So what are you doing for that? And can you do something small today? Maybe it's a meditation practice. Maybe it's a joy practice, because a joy practice is intuition as well. It's
Yes.
listening to your emotions, right? And allowing that to come up. So do something that really allows you to be in your intuition today, and just start to notice those nudges. When this says go left instead of go right, go left. And if you decide to go right, you're going to get the lesson there too, right? It doesn't work one way or the other. You're going to get the lesson whether you listen or not. So do you just want more flow and ease in your life, or do you just want to fight and have it show you time and time and time again that this is real, and when are you going to trust it?
Ooh, I love it. I love that. Thanks for the reminder, Sheetal. It also, as you were speaking, I was like, yeah, that's why the first step in the joy method is the feelings. And I think you were there from where I started walking that out more fully. Like, I got sober in 2015. We met in 2017, but on that journey of like really allowing for myself to feel all of the discomfort, all of the everything, allowing ourselves to honor our feelings as guides is the most powerful thing we could ever do. Like, to me, that is true power, and it unlocks those pieces, right? So we do speak the same language. Shocking.
That's weird.
Do I sense a collaboration coming up? We'll talk about that later once we have some white space. Okay, Sheetal. Well, thank you so much. This to me is just the beginning, and I can't wait to have you back.
I'm so excited to be invited back. It's always a yes. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yes.
More white space to come back on the podcast.
Well, no, I can't fill white space. Remember, just space.
More space, more space with joy,
Yes,
with
more
joyful
space.
abundance, and we'll dive into all of this and more.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I love you. Also, last piece, where can we all find you?
Oh, easiest place is www.sheetalstory.com, SHEETAL, story, STORY. They're all in the show notes. And if you don't know where that is, you can just find me on Instagram at Sheetal Story. I'm always on there. I'm very social. I'm an extrovert. I'm not sure if you can tell. So I like being social. I do my own social media. I'm in my own DMs. So if you are hearing this and you want to message me, please do. I definitely am going to share this on my socials as well. I just love supporting Jillian. I share her stuff out to my audience too. Everyone needs more joy in their life. So come over there and chat with me. I'd love to speak with you and meet you.
Thank you, Sheetal. Thanks for all your magic. I love you to bits. So
I love
grateful for
you.
you.